All right, welcome everybody to this very special nail in the coffin. We've actually put a blue pin right in the middle of the A here for Spike R's mom. And as you can see, we have the two teddy bears here. One of them represents Spike R, whom we're all very familiar with, and the other one is Spike R's mom. And now we're going to have her tell us her story. So
this has been 2 years in the making, so it's so wonderful to have you both here with us.
And welcome to your freedom. Even though we know this has been, you've been free for a while, but you're ready to have your nail in the coffin and say, Watchtower, that's it. So, Mrs. Spike R, how about telling us your story?
Well, I became a witness. It's been over 30 years. My husband and I had bought a 3-family house in the town that we live in. One of my tenants, it turns out, was a witness. And after Christmas, she said to me, "You probably wonder why I didn't have a Christmas tree." I said, "No, I had no idea she didn't have a Christmas tree." But she started talking to me about the Bible. She actually wanted to study with me. Because she was a tenant, I wouldn't study with her. But she did talk me into going to the meeting with her. It was near memorial time. Actually, I went to the memorial with her. I was impressed with the witnesses that I met. I came from a Catholic background where you'd kiss the bishop's ring if he was there, and you'd bow down before him in all of the pomp and circumstance. So I really liked that the witnesses seemed to be just people, that the elders didn't seem to lord it over the congregation. I was impressed. But she introduced me to a woman there who said she'd like to attend my study. And I said, "I'm not studying. I won't study with her." And she says, "Well, when you have a Bible discussion." So she came, and she actually talked me into having a Bible study. She brought different ones with her on the study, some who were my age, some who had kids that were my kids' age. I had 2 kids at that time. And I had read the whole of, it was the blue book at that time, the Truth book. I had read the whole of the book before I first studied.
Oh, wow.
And the thing with the study was they'd read paragraphs and ask questions, and I thought it was kind of dumb. I said, "I know that this is what you want for an answer, but I don't necessarily agree with it." And I had even gone to the library looking for information against the witnesses.
Oh, wow.
My family, my husband's family were against the witnesses. But you know, back then we didn't have the internet. We didn't have all the information available that's now available to help people that are really seeking truth. So there were a lot of things that sounded good to me coming from a Catholic background, things that I had had questions about. To me, the Trinity didn't make sense. I didn't think that a God of love would burn someone forever in a hellfire. So those things really appealed to me. I didn't believe in fighting because the Bible says thou shalt not kill. So there was a lot that appealed to me. I progressed slowly with the study because I had so many questions. The person who studied with me found someone else to come with her who really was more attuned to me. And she would do extra research that helped. And we studied some deep things. I don't know if the two of you remember the great big red, the old Babylon book. That was
yeah.
Pages.
Yep.
They had studied the first book with me, the Truth book, and then when I was missing meetings because of my kids and everything, they came back and studied with me some more to boost me up spiritually. Yeah. And we actually did about 3/4 of that book together.
Oh, wow. And that is a deep read.
It is. But to me, getting that background about the churches and everything, I found interesting, and I ate all that stuff up, so to speak. And I did become a witness. I was very zealous that I tried to auxiliary pioneer as much as I could. My kids, I had them out in field service. They didn't see Sunday morning cartoons. Unfortunately, they were deprived because I would get them out in field service in the snow, in the heat. I did everything I could so that they would have friends in the truth, so that they would progress spiritually. And I realize now that in many ways I was really tough on them. And I wished I could go back and that they'd had a more normal childhood.
Yeah.
But I was working towards, I wanted to pioneer. God has always been very important to me in my life, and His Son Jesus, and that's still the case. I know that since I've stopped going to the meetings, a lot of the friends think that, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And they think that I've left God and left Jesus, and I haven't, because the Bible says that there's one mediator, and we know that that's Christ. But maybe you want to hear Spike's part in helping his mom become out.
Well, absolutely.
Because that is a biggie. I had questions as a witness, things that bothered me. For instance, education had always bothered me, and I'm glad all of my kids got a college education.
Good.
I saw that a lot of the friends were struggling to make ends meet. And I thought, what good does this do? If one of them had a good education and could support their family, then maybe one of them could pioneer, so it didn't make sense. So my kids did pursue an education. There were other things, charities. Before becoming a witness, I used to give to different charities and things, and that bothered me that they only wanted us giving to the Watchtower or to the local hall, because that's where the good would be if you could help someone to have a Bible study. I did give to some charities still, but most of my money went to the Kingdom Hall and to the Watchtower Society. So then, because I had questions, and there were others, Spike went through a difficult period with his marriage falling apart and everything. And I really started worrying about him. And he came to me and talked to me a little bit and was telling me that I needed to make my own decision, but if he were wrong, he wanted me to show him where he was wrong. I did research into 1914 because that was a big thing. And I wasn't finding the information fast enough that I thought would help him, and I really still thought that God was using this organization at that time. So I did speak to some elders. In fact, I was very close to the CO and his wife. I'd spoken with the CO's wife. The CO and the coordinator of the elder body where he was wanted to meet with me, and they sounded like they wanted to be very loving, that this was an elder that was hurting, and they wanted to help him, and they didn't plan to disfellowship him. They wanted to know if I would testify against him, if that would help him.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I didn't think I could do that. And I just wanted to get him help. I was worried that he was going to lose out on everlasting life because he was turning against God's organization.
That's the cult indoctrination working right there.
Yeah, you know who was really getting the help, don't we?
Yes.
He was actually helping me because I started doing research to help him, and I stuck to a lot of our literature, but I started looking at some things on the internet. And for anyone listening who is either a witness with questions or who is looking into becoming a witness, there are some books and some information that I think are just crucial to helping people. One of the things that really helped me was Ray Franz. I read his book, Crisis of Conscience. And that book, he came across as being so loving that he wanted to correct what was wrong in the organization.
Yeah.
And yet seeing how they came after him and didn't want to hear what he had to say, I could see that there wasn't truth there. And there were parts of his book especially that caught my attention. But also Barbara Anderson, because she had been on the writing staff at the Watchtower.
Yes.
The things she had to say, because again, she came across as very loving. And like she wanted to help them to make corrections. Hey, brothers, I see something wrong. We need to address this, especially when it came to the molestation of children. That's huge.
Yeah.
And the things she said just really tore at my heart. So her site was very good. And then, of course, I had met with the two of you with my son, and I look at your site all the time, that the things, your connections and the things that you say are very helpful.
So you mean watching me do one of my rants didn't really scare you off?
It didn't, which I gotta tell you, that's surprising, because the thing is, I avoided looking at a lot of the sites because the people seemed to have so much anger, and that wasn't who I was or where I wanted to go with it. But it was the ones that helped me were the ones that were loving and still saw good in the people, but saw problems with the organization. That was what got to me. But just want to mention another book that really helped me too, was Stephen Hassan's Combating Cult Mind Control.
Yeah.
Because we would have where they would tell us at assemblies and conventions that we're not a cult, but some of the things didn't quite ring true with me there. And reading his book was just so eye-opening. He, of course, had been part of the Moonies, at least that's what they were called when I was a kid, the Unification Church.
Yeah.
But it was so insightful, the things he had to say, and I kept saying, wow, this is the witnesses, this is the witnesses. So his book was awesome, too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you can just get the Jehovah's Witnesses to look at how some of these other people are describing the cults or the other religions that they were involved in, and see that there's absolutely so many parallels between what they described, especially like in Steve Hassan's book, where he's describing the technique they use and everything like that. I don't see how anybody cannot make a connection between other cults and the Watchtower Bible Tract Society, because it's just so blatant once you look at it.
Well, we even know of at least 2 Mormons who came across ex-Jehovah Witness YouTube videos, and they're watching this about Watchtower, and they're like, oh my God, Mormons are just like this. I'm in a cult.
Yeah.
And so we know it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses.
And that's sad because my daughter left the Witnesses but became a Mormon, and I'm hoping that she and her family will realize that it too is a cult.
Yeah.
But there were things I had mentioned Ray Franz in his book. There was so much in his book where I really saw so much hypocrisy in the way the organization does things, and that really bothered me.
Yeah. I know we were talking a little earlier, and I had asked you a question about, was there an absolute aha moment that made you really realize that, this religion is all BS? And you had given us an answer. How about just re-explaining again what it was that really connected the dots for you?
It was when I read about Malawi and Mexico. I couldn't believe, because as I was coming in and becoming a witness, they were praying for the friends in Malawi and talking about all of the persecution that these friends were going through. And then to read that at the same time that the friends were going through that persecution because of a political card that they couldn't purchase, and to find out that in Mexico they were bribing officials for a card that said that they had done service in a school or something in preparation for the military. And that just amazed me. I thought, how could they do that? And it was even circuit overseers and elders and ministerial servants that were bribing the officials. And I thought, that is so wrong. And people are losing their lives in Malawi at the same time. And then I read that a lot of the friends in Mexico, when they heard about this, it bothered their conscience. And there were letters going back and forth between Bethel and the friends in Mexico. And I've read many of those. And that's where I'm not sure if I read that through Ray Franz or through Barbara Anderson, because she had a lot of good things on her site too, links to a lot of these articles. But it wasn't just that. It was finding out that the organization was at one time NGO to the United Nations, and at the same time that we were doing the Revelation book about how the United Nations is supposedly the beast. I thought, how hypocritical. That just didn't make sense.
Yeah, I know it. And a lot of people don't realize that there's still NGO members over in Europe. They may have cut their ties here in the United States, but in Europe, they're still alive and well, affiliated with the United Nations.
Yeah, we actually watched a documentary from a gentleman. It's about 3 or 4 years old, and it's like about a 4 to 6 hour documentary. And he's quoting all of these other different people. He actually quotes quite a bit from Albert Pike's books, Morals and Dogma, which I happen to have a copy of that book. So it's very interesting to see how these group of people are working towards the one world government and everything like this. But he he quotes somebody from the UN. In fact, I even think he showed a clip of this gentleman saying this, that if they don't join the UN, they're going to regret it later. And we're wondering if that's one of the reasons why Watchtower didn't, or why Watchtower did join them, so that there would not be adverse effects later. It was just a very interesting documentary to watch, and it's very lengthy, and it's very, very well resourced. And just a little side point here, I don't know if Kim and I will have time to do a video on it later, but it was interesting. He actually produced a list. Now, we could not read the website that he got it off from because it was so small, and this was a several-year-old video. But on that list, he was naming prominent Freemasons,
Religious leaders
around the world, and Charles Taze Russell was on that list as a Freemason. So we found that very, very interesting. We, like I said, we tried to read the website that he got this information from as best as we could, but we just couldn't do it. But I found it very interesting that this gentleman actually found where Charles Taze Russell was a Freemason and put it on that list, along with, Oral Roberts and Billy Graham,
Joseph Smith,
and a lot of other, religious leaders as being Freemasons. So, continue with the story.
Okay, well, the thing was, I began to see that, too, the Watchtower organization really was a lot like the scribes and the Pharisees. One of the things, it helped me, having a son who had been an elder, there were things that I wondered about to do, for instance, with disfellowshipping. Mm-hmm. And so he was able to answer some questions for me. But when you think about it, when the Israelites did something wrong, they appeared at the gate in public, whereas when the elders have the secret meetings and nobody can go, you can't have a witness or anything, that's so wrong. And then when I started reading that they would ask horrendous questions, like if it were a case of fornication, that they would have to have the nitty-gritty details. That is so wrong. The person's confessing that they've sinned and they're truly repentant. Who on earth would want all those details? That's just so perverse. And then just the control. There's so much control. Like, you need so many hours in field service. You got to turn in your reports. And I used to go along with all that and believe all their reasoning that, well, that would help them to direct the work and so forth. But when you really look at it, you realize the scribes and Pharisees. Yeah. And they condemned other religious groups that do that kind of thing. But in so many cases where they're condemning someone else, and then to find out they're doing the same or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But, so it was so many things. And like I say, Spike helped me. He was very patient with me. There were times we had some heated discussions. But I could bounce things off from him. And he was just very helpful.
Well, we do know from past conversations with Spike that this has truly been a work in progress for quite some time. I know we've shared Spike's story on our channel, and he shared it also too with the Vast Apostate Hour. So it's very encouraging for a lot of us to see that people are waking up to the manipulation, the control. And really, if you choose not to believe in the Bible once you wake up, or if you do choose to still believe in the Bible or Christ, and the message is clear. It's a message of freedom. And this is what people truly, truly want. We want to be free. We don't want men controlling us, telling us how many hours we have to get, in field service if we want to, be privileged enough to pass a mic, or, privileged enough to pass out talk slips or anything like that. It truly boils down to being free. And when you're inside of a cult and or a religious entity such as the Watchtower Bible Tract Society, it's hard to see where that freedom really lies, because the way Watchtower tells their story, you are free. You're free inside this organization. And the longer you're involved with it, the more you see that you are not free at all. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, when you do wake up and realize that you have freedom available to you, there's a cost for accepting that freedom, and it's sometimes a loss of family members and friends. And I mentioned this in a video yesterday, that for me, my freedom is more valuable than my family members. I value freedom over family members, and I know that that's a tough choice for a lot of people to make, because it's a real heart-wrenching choice to make. So we're glad that you and Spike R have been able to come out as a family and still have that mother-son bond that a lot of us don't have. So we're hoping that those in this XJW community will share in your joy,
Yes.
just as much as they shared in our joy when Kim and I came out and our daughter and son-in-law was able to wake up and come with us. So there is joy to be shared, joy to be welcomed, and there's always still that hope. As long as we have access to the internet and we're still able to do these videos like this, people are going to wake up. It's just a matter of time and a matter of when and where it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
Oh, I agree. Like I said before, if the information that is available now on the internet had been available when I was studying, I probably never would have become a witness.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you didn't have even Windows at that point, let alone the internet.
Yeah, if you wanted to do any real research, you'd had to spend a lot of time in your local library, and sometimes in a library in another city or even another state.
Exactly.
So,
But like you say, coming out is hard, because for me, once I became a witness, I really limited my friendship to within the congregation.
Yep.
And so walking away, especially when you're older, it's difficult. It's like I work, and I have a different feeling at work now with people. There's not this fear inside me that, oh, if I sit at lunch with them and they're talking about the holidays, that I need to leave, or
Yeah.
that I feel out of it because of the things they talk about. And I find I have a better relationship with people at work,
Yeah.
but it's still, they all live so far away from work that it's limited what you can do friendship-wise. And
Yeah.
so,
And
it's tough as you get older.
yeah, and that's part of the cult technique, because either you feel like you don't belong with your workmates when they're talking about the holidays, or you absolutely feel that you have to witness to them and tell them how wrong they are, and if they don't change their ways, they're going to die at Armageddon. So it's really a horrible situation to put any human being in.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and if I were going on a trip someplace, I always made sure I took a lot of the Watchtower nameplates and the brochures, so if I had a chance to witness to someone on airplanes or wherever it was, and I think how awful.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times we've gone into a grocery store and I would purposely put on a shirt that had a pocket right here that I could put little tracts in so that you could just hand them out as you're doing your grocery shopping. It's just ridiculous.
It was embarrassing.
Yes.
Yes. We know that Spike R is on the other side of the camera. You have anything that you'd like to say to this story, or add further to the story?
Yeah, so like you guys have been talking about, and like I said before, it was a long process. Obviously, though, one thing with my mother is she listened, and I really think, though, that had I not been who I was, had I not been as faithful and as zealous as I was in the service of the organization, I probably would not have been successful in convincing her. So it can be really difficult to wake people up, especially if you've always been on the fringe, because if you've been on the fringe and people might view you as rebellious anyways, that further complicates your job.
Yeah.
But since I had such a long, strong record of being brainwashed, it was successful. But also, too, one thing I want to bring out is that we actually gained our family when we left, because in our extended family, we were the only ones that were ever Jehovah's Witnesses.
That's right.
So now we have them all back. They're very loving, very accepting, and they're just happy to have us back.
Cool.
So for us, it's kind of the reverse. We were forced to cut off our family and to hold them at arm's length for pretty much my entire life. And now that relationship's a lot better. And maybe you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that really is good to have that back. I know my sisters especially have reached out to me. I spend a lot of time with my youngest sister because, of course, like I said, I have to build up all new friendships now. But my sister and I have always been friends, and things are much better since I'm no longer a witness, that we can talk and I don't feel like I'm not as judgmental. That's the other thing, was realizing as a witness you really become so judgmental. And it's like I feel better because I haven't got that weight on me. I'm not judging people. I'm accepting people for who they are because I love people and I don't want to be judging people. Who am I to judge anyone?
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of cards and letters from witnesses that, have been concerned about me. And I know I have one that Spike will probably do something on later because it's a sister who has thought a lot of me. She thought that I had encouraged her in many ways, but her card really was like, where am I going to go to? It was picking apart things as though I was sinning, as though I had done something terrible now. And she's trying to be encouraging, but when they say, where are you going to go to? Well, you go to Jesus, not to the organization. Yeah. And I think witnesses don't get that to them, if you're leaving the organization, you're leaving God and you're leaving his son Jesus. Quite the opposite. You're developing a closer relationship with them instead of having an organization in the middle telling you what to do.
Exactly.
Well, that's like video we did either Friday. I think it was the video we did Friday. When you really read the Bible, and the point that I brought out was that as Jehovah's Witnesses, we're all looking forward to that 1,000-year reign of our Lord, to where he's going to restore peace to the earth and gradually work mankind back to this state of perfection, and we can have this one-on-one relationship with God. And as Jehovah's Witnesses, we've always talked about how, well, when I reach perfection, I'm going to ask God this question, I'm going to ask God that question. And what we don't realize is that we have that right now, because the scriptures say that God does not dwell in handmade temples. And there are other scriptures that say that God dwells inside of you along with his son. So if God is dwelling inside of you right now, then don't we have that that relationship with God, that one-on-one relationship right now? And it's not something you have to wait for 1,000 years in the future. We have that right now. And I think when it comes to Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't stop and think about those type of things as they read scripture, that you have that one-on-one relationship with God right now. And I know for me, recognizing that, the value of my prayers absolutely changed to one of, I want knowledge. I want to be able to figure this out. And those prayers really seem to be specifically answered, because when I would read a scripture, I would read it and say, oh, I get it. And, you have that answer to that question right there and then. Now, is God going to give us a brand new car? No, that's not in the cards. But when you pray for wisdom and knowledge and discernment, you are given those things.
Well, that makes me think of something else. One of the things that really resonated with me as I was waking up was that the scriptures tell us, we commend, when we would be out in field service, we would tell people about the Bereans and how the apostles commended them because they listened to the apostles, but they went and made sure that it was in agreement with the scriptures. And the Bible says you have to use your powers of discernment, and you have to keep making sure. So really, we should be able to question, and yet the Watchtower says we're being presumptuous if we question, that we've got to listen to what the governing body says, and that is so against what the Bible says.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to add, Spike?
I'm trying to think. So, I know there's a lot of people out there that would like to be able to wake up their family members. And I guess what I want to say is you do have hope to do that, but it depends on a lot of different things. You have to know when to pick your battles. There are some battles that you will not be able to win. Jehovah's Witnesses do not fight with reason and logic. They fight with authoritarian structures that told them not to use reason and logic. So just because you are able to see clearly what the Watchtower is, people who are still indoctrinated are basically under mind control, and they're not using their powers of reasoning. So it's a very touchy subject. You never know what's going to wake a person up. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't try, but one thing to keep in mind is that if you do try, you risk losing a relationship with that person, period. So it's a very it's a tough subject, but it's one that can be done, but there's no magic bullet that's going to work for everybody. But the one thing that we know is that we have truth on our side. We're not out here being evil people. We're out here, we're actually fighting for the truth and fighting to bring people the truth, and it's being hidden from them by an organization which has inserted itself between them and God. And basically what the organization has done is they've sat themselves on the throne of Jesus Christ, which is pretty much blasphemous.
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing to do, but it can be done. So pick your battles. There are some that you might not be able to win. There are some people that might not be able to wake up. Just do your thing. Be out there. Live your life. Be happy. Because one thing, too, is in my observance of my mother for my entire life, this is actually the happiest she's ever been.
Good.
You know, in fact, I talked to her mother, my grandmother, and she said that her and her family all noticed that, like, my mother used to get this judgmental look on her face, this semi-scowl, and she said they haven't seen that since my mother's woken up.
Oh, nice.
People notice how much happier you become and how better adjusted you are. So it's a wonderful thing to be awake. Let's all just keep doing our part to help whoever we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Well, it was interesting is we uploaded a video yesterday where we were working on a morning worship that Stephen Lett did. And it's interesting because he was talking about causes for stumbling. And everything he mentioned was what Watchtower does. And the third point he brings out, he even talks about putting a physical, stumbling block in front of somebody, and he mentions sin by omission.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't realize it by omitting telling the flock, the sheeple, some of this stuff, or omitting it from their quotes, or the literature, or not telling them about the child abuse problem. They are sinning by omission.
These guys don't even hear what they're saying. I mean, honestly, somebody has to sit down in that writing department and write out what they're going to talk about during, morning worship, and how these guys can write this stuff down and not think, oh, we better not use the phrase sin by omission because, some apostate somewhere, like Mike and Kim are going to pick up on that and they're going to rip us a new one. No, they just go ahead and write it and blurt it out anyways. What a bunch of idiots. Now, for those that think that was insensitive, I don't care. They're a bunch of idiots. As simple as that.
I honestly believe you can't tell who's who, even on the governing body. They can either be so thoroughly deluded where they really honestly believe that they have a different standard that their organization is held to, or they enjoy the power so much they'll do whatever they can to keep it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you can't tell who's who, because some of them, no doubt, are thoroughly deluded, and some of them may just be narcissists who are enjoying the power. So that being the case, it's funny, the little things where they talk about, they literally can't think about the scripture where, Jehovah hates two types of scales. That never crosses their mind.
Yeah, it never crosses their mind.
They direct you to live your life, and they hold themselves to a different set of scales on a regular basis. I mean, how reprehensible is that?
Well, isn't that the Hillary Clinton syndrome?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you want to get into politics here.
No, I don't. But I just find that kind of funny that you say that, and that very scenario is being played out in the political world right now.
Yeah, that's not just specific to Hillary Clinton, though. There's lots of politicians.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's just that this is what's being focused on right now.
Yeah. Even in local government, you see the same thing. So.
Oh yeah, but now we're free to, instead of just waiting for someone to wave their magic wand and fix it, we can actively try to work on things to make the situation better. We can finally take our heads out of the sand, and we can actually work to do real good in society and the world at large. Not the society, but in society in general.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. And like your mom mentioned, at the beginning of this, how, she can donate now to whoever she wants to. And that's, what's nice is, well, like even our kids would go and, donate time and volunteer at the local food bank and shelter and feed people, because they have like what you would call a soup kitchen. So it's nice to be able to do this now without someone saying, oh, well, you need to spend your time going out in service.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of this activism is it's being able to help affect change. Like that video we uploaded yesterday, Jehovah's Witnesses and jury duty. We know that Jehovah's Witnesses will use every excuse in the book to get out of jury duty. And one thing that they'll say, and it's printed in a Watchtower, that, they cannot judge their fellow man. They cannot sit in judgment. But yet, the very judicial process of Jehovah's Witnesses is 3 men sitting in judgment. And it's not just the judgment of their fellow man, they sit in judgment of their own brethren. People that these elders have probably baptized, and years later they're sitting in judgment of their own brethren. And messages like that given to your county clerks who have to read these letters from Jehovah's Witnesses as to why they want to be excused from jury duty. And the biggest argument that they present is that they cannot judge their fellow man, but yet they absolutely do sit in judgment. So when things like that are brought to the fore, that's taking more of the control away from Watchtower, which is really just tightening the noose around their own necks. Because the more non-Jehovah's Witnesses wake up and realize how they've been deceived also by this cult, it empowers them more and more to say, no, you're a Jehovah Witness and you want to get out of jury duty because you can't judge your fellow man. But yet I just watched a video, your own training video, where you train your elders to judge your fellow man and your brethren. Nope, you're going to serve. So it's also empowering those that are in positions of power to turn the tables on Jehovah's Witnesses also.
Oh, yeah. The whole judgment thing, though, is even worse than that, because the society in their literature sits in judgment of everybody alive.
Yeah.
They have judged everybody alive who is not one of Jehovah's Witnesses as deserving destruction by God personally at Armageddon. So they have already passed sentence judgmentally on every single person on the planet. So that's their argument that they can't sit in judgment of people is irrelevant, because they do every single day.
Every day.
Yeah, it's the worst hypocrisy ever. I mean, just Watchtower is just full of hypocrisy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's why we're so much happier now that burden has been lifted from us.
Yeah, exactly. And it, you know what, Spike, that was a burden. That really, really was a burden to all of us. And I'm glad to be free myself. And we're also glad to know that as ex-members, we still have friendships that we value. Friends that, for me at least, I feel like there's a deeper sense of trust. Because I know that if, like Kim and I, we're not perfect. If we make a mistake in one of our videos and somebody like yourself points it out, we're more than happy to look at it and say, yeah, Spiker, you were right. That should have been done different, and we'll go make that change. So, whereas when you're being told by an elder to make that change, you're saying, well, who the hell do you think you are telling me I did this wrong? So it's really a total sense of freedom and a total sense of deeper trust in ex-members.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, you still have your people that carry whatever baggage and weight they might have from that existence into their life, and they might still have problems. So you still do have to exercise caution, realizing that people are people, and as much as you would like to trust everybody, there are truly some people that aren't very trustworthy. So you still do want to not let yourself be completely gullible. But that being the case, is those of us who know each other and who trust each other do have a much stronger bond. Yeah. Because we're out there enjoying our friendships with each other, but also we're trying to do something positive to share what we know to help others to lift that same burden off and to enjoy their freedom.
Yeah,
exactly. And sometimes, and let's face it, we all have some kind of baggage from the cult. There's just different degrees. But, a lot just want a friendship, just to say, look, you're not crazy. Yes, we all have to go through this. We felt the same way. It's very traumatic. Sometimes that's all they need. And when you get an email back from them several months later and say, thank you, you helped me, the ones that touch me the most are ones that I'll get an email and it says, thanks Mike and Kim, because I was on the verge of suicide. I didn't tell you, but, just being a friend and being there and answering questions, you saved my life. This is why we keep doing this, because of ones like that.
Oh, yeah.
And we do get a lot of those.
Yeah, so the thing, too, that a lot of people don't realize is that the very nature of the Watchtower is horribly abusive and very emotionally damaging. So that's another reason why I feel compelled to spread the information I have, because people are still being abused by basically what is nothing more than a publishing corporation.
Yep. And
the distinguishing feature of this publishing corporation is anytime they predict something, it doesn't happen. And they change their beliefs on a regular basis depending on which way the wind blows.
Yeah.
So that being the case, is they certainly are not individuals who should be allowed to continue their abusive nature. Which is why it's important for those of us who are in the know to say something, to put information out there that can help people, that can protect people from the horrible abuse that's dealt out in that system.
Yeah, exactly. And that reminds me, your mom probably doesn't know this, but I had a young witness woman contact me, and she was going through a very difficult time because she was waking up and her husband was still a witness. And she couldn't talk to him because he's such a gung-ho one. And he was starting to, give her problems and turned her into the elders, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And, thank you so much, Spike, because you were an elder. I was able to actually get her in contact with you. And she sent me an email a couple of weeks after she had talked to you and thanked me for, sending me over to talk to you because you helped her so much. And, I think what goes on behind the scenes, so many of the viewers don't realize that it's a full-time job, just things going on behind the scenes of trying to help, some of the friends.
Yeah, no, thanks. Anytime anybody needs help, certainly feel free to refer them to me. Yeah. I'm happy that I can help however I can. So thank you for trusting me on that level.
Well, it helps me because, Mike and I were never elders, so, we really don't know the in and out everything of how, these elders work. We have a pretty good idea.
Oh, yeah, we got a real good idea.
But, it's nice if they can talk to somebody who was an elder because you can give some really good advice on how to handle stuff.
Yeah, because I do have the manual, Watchtower. I got that manual now.
I know. There's manuals out there too now.
Yeah, I know what you know, Watchtower.
Yeah, that's easy because they don't know very much. So.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, they don't follow their own rule book.
Well,
no, they don't.
No, they absolutely don't. It kind of reminds me of something, years ago we went to Laughlin with another elder and his wife, and I was serving as a ministerial servant. And, I was still indoctrinated by then, but I still had the whole question, how could God's Holy Spirit be appointing these guys when they'll get up on the platform and lie and cause problems among the brothers? But I remember that one way or another it got found out that I went and put a few nickels in a slot machine, and I got talked to by two elders. They handed me a Watchtower magazine, the dangers of gambling and all this stuff, and I readily accepted the counsel. I had no problem with that. A couple of months later, we get a visit from the circuit overseer, and the next thing I know, I'm being hauled into a judicial committee because the circuit overseer told the body of elders that they did not handle my situation properly and that a judicial hearing had to be formed. So when I went into that judicial hearing, I asked one question. I says, I want to know, how is it that you brothers counseled me, I accepted your counsel, I work with the counsel, and now you have to bring this issue back up? Who brought a dead issue back up to the circuit overseer And who did not say, wait a minute, Brother Circuit Overseer, we already talked to Brother Brooks. He accepted our counsel. Let's just let it drop. But it shows absolutely how much they love sitting in that seat of judgment. So for me, that was a huge eye-opener, because they could not answer my question as to why one of the elders brought up a dead subject to try to reconvict me, because it shows absolutely that at least one elder, and I have a very strong suspicion who that elder was, because the brother that came to me said the same thing. I don't know how this got brought up. I don't know why it got brought up, but we have to go meet with, and in fact, I had to meet with the circuit overseer on that same issue too, and I asked him that same question.
Well, it's interesting because the regular pioneers / elder couple that we went to Laughlin with, they put a few coins in the slot machines too, and we asked them, and they said, oh yeah, your elders called our elders, and they talked to us, but it's over and done deal.
It's over and done. Yeah, so here you've got an elder that didn't have to face a judicial committee because he put a few nickels in a slot machine, but I did. I had to face that judicial committee, and at the end of it, it was just a done deal, because these guys couldn't answer my questions at all, and that kind of really helped me sort out a lot of different things. Like, yeah, these elders, they do work off an agenda. There is a corporate ladder they want to climb, and the mechanism they use is the sheeple, the people that they can exercise this authority over. So that went a long way, and for those that are just curious, no, I did not lose my position as a ministerial servant at that time, because I was able to out-question these guys.
But that just shows they're not really interested in helping the person, that it's more about these judicial committees instead of actually, because there are some, for instance, I think of people who have problems with addiction, such as alcohol. If you disfellowship them, if they were brought up as witnesses and they really towed the line, kept their friendship with witnesses, and all their friends and family are just witnesses, where do they go? Where do they get help if they're disfellowshipped? Because they're going to need the help so they can overcome this addiction.
Absolutely.
And it's not there for them.
Exactly.
Judicial process is nothing more. It's a crucial control mechanism for the cult. It's the fear and shame mechanism that's used to keep people in line. And that fear and shame runs extremely deep for most people.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, why would they bother confessing their sins to a bunch of guys that are probably out there cleaning windows for a living, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's why those leaked training elder videos were so good, because in how they deal with Robbie, it just shows how they really are.
Yep. Yeah, if you consider that treatment loving, then you are probably a narcissist yourself. So. No. Spike,
you did it all wrong. You did it all wrong. If you think sitting before a judicial committee is a loving provision from God, you might be in a cult.
There you go.
Yes.
I feel like this Jeff Foxworthy thing where, where he's, you might be a redneck. We know if you might be in a cult.
That's where I started pulling that from.
To knock on people's doors, to give them 16-page magazines, you might be in a cult.
Yep, exactly.
See how easy it is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If your flagship magazine went from 32 pages down to 16 because there's nothing else to talk about, you might be in a cult.
If you honestly believe the things that your cult currently prints about its history, despite the fact you can go into literature and prove that they said something different, you might be in a cult.
Yep, exactly. Perfect.
I gotta tell you guys a funny story. We have a dear friend who talks to, well, he goes and he posts under XJW videos, trying to talk to the current Jehovah's Witnesses who are calling all of us liars. And I believe the conversation was over Johannes Grieber and how Watchtower not only, supports his translation of the Bible, but has a copy of his book, Communication with the Spirit World, and, validates Johannes Grieber in their literature. And our friend made the comment, so is it okay for Watchtower to do that? But yet you, as a rank and file, if you did that, you would be disfellowshipped. And this Jehovah's Witness actually came back and said, well, it's okay if they do it because it's scholarly spiritism.
I wonder if they'd say the same thing if they caught the governing body playing the Ouija board. Oh, that's scholarly.
Scholarly.
Yeah. So I guess it's okay, for them to do anything as long as it's scholarly and they're doing it to help further the kingdom of God.
Yeah, I've got a few more pages to go on that book from Johannes Grieber, Communication with the Spirit World of God. And I'm going to do a video on this. I've actually folded over the pages to where, this spirit that Johannes Grieber is communicating with is saying different things that go against Watchtower's theology. Now, I find it interesting that Watchtower will validate Johannes Grieber's communication with the spirit world, with the spirit, and using the definite article A at John 1:1. But yet the same spirit in another portion of the book clearly says you don't need a religion or an organization to have a relationship with God. Why doesn't Watchtower use that?
Yeah. Well, we know that they're masters of cherry picking their quotes. They miss people all the time. Which happened with Professor Singh, was it at the beginning of the year?
Yes.
They do that on a regular basis. They're probably the most notorious cherry pickers in quotes to dishonestly present things that aren't really there.
Yeah, see, and that's the whole thing, is that if you have to cherry pick anything like that, then what truth do you have? You're just making stuff up as you go along. There is no truth with stuff that you have to cherry pick.
Yeah, they tell truthful lies. How's that?
That's a good way of putting it. Truthful lies, absolutely. Well,
it's scholarly research.
Yes, scholarly lies. Yes. Anything else you'd like to add, Mrs. Spikar, to this?
Oh, there are so many things, and I know time is limited, but it's so good, really finally seeing the truth and being able to recognize where the society has been bipolar in its presentation. Really, the discrepancies, the dishonesty, and being free of that.
Yeah.
But I hope that people going forward will really do the research necessary and will come to a better understanding of what really is true.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And we are so happy for you and your family. I mean, we've kind of been on the sidelines watching this whole process, and it's been great, getting to know you and Spike and being part of this, and we really appreciate, you guys doing this with us. Yeah, Mike's pointing to your nail in the coffin.
Thank you, Mike.
Oh, you're very welcome. Again,
right in the heart.
Yes, right in the heart of Watchtower. Let me put this right here just so that everybody, whoops, got that backwards here. Everybody can see it's that blue pin right in the middle of the A. This is Spike R's mom. Welcome to your freedom. It's, as always, this is a pleasure to be able to do the nails in the coffin. I know Kim and I have got another list started already, but we kind of wanted to make this one special because of, not how much, but what Kim and I have done from the rear seat and talking with you in the past, and also your son Spike R. So this has really been a journey that we've enjoyed being on with the both of you. And thank you for the honor of letting us tell your story, putting it up on our YouTube channel. The honor and privilege of driving. Well, it just comes down to this. We just put your pin right in the heart of Watchtower.
Thank you. I don't know if what I said was helpful, but if it helps one person, that's good.
That's the thing. We all have an ability, we all have a gift, we all have a talent, but that gift or talent does not resonate with everybody that's been a Jehovah's Witness. There are some people that warm up to Kim and I, and there are some people that are just absolutely turned off. And I'm sure that, you know, you, Spike-R, probably found a similar thing. Not everybody warms up to you, but there's a lot of people that do. So we all have these drawing abilities to be able to help people not come to us, but that we can relate with on a more personal level, and that does help our form of activism.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, thanks again for hosting my mother's story on your channel. I really appreciate that, and thanks for all the help and support you guys have given me over the years. And thanks for all the work you guys continue to do. You know, you guys help a lot more people than I do, and I really appreciate that. So anytime I can help out, I'm certainly happy to do so.
Well, thank you.
Well,
we
thank
appreciate that. And, you know, I just feel bad that there's not more of me to help more, you know, and at least help get caught up on these emails, you know, because so many of these poor friends, you know, just need questions answered or help. And, you know, it's just frustrating that I just can't answer all of them today.
Yeah, what was it? Yesterday we woke up, there was another 200 emails in the I was like, oops. Oops.
Yeah, I was uploading a video in high def, and it took a little over 12 hours, and so I can't answer emails on my computer when I'm uploading, you know, a video. So I went a whole day and a half, you know, counting editing and everything of the video without answering emails, and I've got way over 200 emails in my inbox now, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were circuit overseer.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how to respond to that.
He's speechless.
Much better than one. We'll say it that way.
Well, thanks. You know, we're just doing what we can, because we do realize that associated with these cults, there's a lot of frustration, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of what do we do now? And the first thing you have to realize is that when you do your research properly, the choice absolutely becomes yours without having to condemn yourself for making choices.
And we're so happy that, you know, your mom is out now and you guys have each other. You know, that is just so heartwarming, and to see families coming out together.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So,
and thank you for all of your help. The two of you have been very helpful.
well, thank you. We're glad that we could have been of help. I mean, it really does our hearts good knowing that we're telling Watchtower, you just don't control us no more, and you don't have all the answers like you think you do. So it's good. It's all good. It's all encouraging.
Yes. And thank you so much. So I think we'll say goodbye to everybody, but guys, don't hang up, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for
Goodbye.
watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.